Midnight East Coast time. I'm Scott Van Pelt. This is Ryan Clark alongside. And C.J. Stroud's a guy we talked about all year long on Countdown, on SportsCenter. Everybody talked about would he be ready for the close-up, ready for this moment?
Yeah.
I mean, he answers in a resounding fashion, yes, and he and Nico hook up on that very first play. I know there's a lot to show us. What best illustrates sort of who this guy's becoming?
Well, I think it's about the poise, the composure, but the execution in the big moments. And honestly, there's no bigger moment than that last drive, which you talked about, where he was 7 for 7.
Right.
But it's also the first play. Now think about this. This is the Houston Texans. You haven't been to the playoffs since 2019, and this is the first snap of the game. You're going to get a deep crosser here by Dalton Schultz, and then you're going to run Nico Collins on a post route. Now, the guy that you're going to try to affect is the safety here who is playing quarters. You're going to want him to be attracted to Dalton Schultz, and if he is, you're going to throw the football over his head. Now watch, as it starts, he's going to go underneath, and so this should actually get the safety off of the coverage. But because he doesn't get off of the coverage, you're going to see, if you look in the backfield, you're going to get a nod to Schultz, and then the deep throw over the head to Nico Collins. It's hit him right in stride. There's no way you stop that play in a quarters coverage like that, especially if the safety doesn't give inside help. Now, I'm going to show you something. Sometimes you get these great plays and you think to yourself, oh my God, their coach is so good. Well, this time, Bobby wasn't right or the players wasn't right. We're going to get the same route. He going to go here, he going to go here. This dude's going to go here, he's going to go here. We're going to have a cluster fluff that C.J. Stroud is going to have to figure out. Now, when he gets in the pocket here, these dudes ain't open because these dudes is running the same route. He running this route, he running this route. I'm not sure how much football you know, but that ain't supposed to happen. But watch what C.J. Stroud does to manipulate the pocket and find Nico Collins as he's going to uncover here and streak across the field. Look at C.J. Stroud in the pocket. He backs up. He flips around. He throws the football. He leads him out. The diving catch by Nico. And then you saw already, Scott showed you, they had the great throw where he's in the pocket, stares down the barrel, hits Nico across the middle. But without that play, they don't get to that point.
He was brilliant on that last drive, but the missed extra point opened the door, and it meant that the Colts could win with a touchdown and a made extra point. Now, Steichen's been brilliant all year as a play caller. I thought Troy did a great job on the broadcast in reminding everybody, look, they throw in these situations, I believe, the second most in the NFL. And you made a really interesting point to me about who they target in those spots. Taylor's on the sideline, but that's what they do?
That's what they've been doing throughout the season. They throw the football, and they hit the unlikelies. Mo Alley Cox. 4th and 1, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They bring in a linebacker, Zaire Franklin, to play the fullback position. 4th and 1 against the Tennessee Titans. They run a jet sweep to Kylan Granson. And then now in this game, they come out the first snap. They don't snap the football. They put somebody in motion to see what the coverage is. It was man-to-man. Then you bring in Tyler Goodson, and you have the perfect pick route called. The football's a little bit behind him, and it's a miscatch. Now, here's the only pushback I will give Shane Steichen.
Okay.
Yep. Middle of the season against Tampa Bay, give it to Mo Alley Cox. A little bit later in the season against the Tennessee Titans early in the game, you could give it to Granson. When you get to these moments, players make plays. And if they could not stop Jonathan Taylor the whole day, you're going to have to show me that they can stop her for 1 yard right there.
He had 188 yards. I get that he left with a heel issue. I get that he had been on the field, and I get that he had just been stopped on 3rd and 2. But your point is, if you're about to go home if it doesn't work, I'm handing it to 28.
Scott, I got to go home being me. That's like you decide not to do bad beats one day and them taking you off the air.
If they stop, if they stop happening, I promise we'll stop doing it. But they don't stop happening. I hear you. That's it. But it could have worked. Almost worked.
It could have worked, but when you look at it, there's always going to be hindsight is 20/20. There's always going to be criticism. It was the right call. He had an opportunity to make a play, but those players have to convert there, and sometimes that's why guys get paid a little bit more.
And Gardner said I'd throw it to Goody over and over again. Wish I gave him a bit better ball. Man, that's a brutal way to have it go out. But the Texans earned the right to play.
Coach, when you talk about these playoff scenarios, are you going to be tuned in to the TV, or are you something you're just going to kind of?
I don't know yet. I hadn't thought about it. Like I said, we were more concerned about the variables that we had control over. Those other ones are less important. We did what we needed to do this weekend.
Pittsburgh's got two paths to the postseason. They need the Jaguars to lose tomorrow or tie against the Titans. If the Jags win, Pittsburgh needs the Bills to lose on Sunday night in Miami. Just over a 70% chance at least one of those two things happens, according to ESPN analytics. So as we pivot forward with our eyes on that gigantic Buffalo-Miami game, I seem to recall a Monday night where I was sitting in Buffalo.
Okay.
And I said I was going to die on the hill that the Buffalo Bills were a good team, and Denver had just beat them. And what'd you tell me?
Oh, then you was already dead.
You said I was dead. Well, here I am, back from the dead. My Bills. I just thought they were good, and they've demonstrated that they are. They've had no wiggle room, but they have played themselves into a position where if they win the AFC East. Miami, meanwhile, they're banged up.
Yeah.
You lose Chubb, which is gutting. You get crushed last week. You're banged up on offense. They're in even if they lose. So I'm not going to ask who's got more stress because clearly it's Buffalo. But it feels more like Buffalo comes in more confident.
I think this is worst case scenario for the Miami Dolphins. You didn't want the AFC East to come down to this week.
Yeah.
You also didn't want to be limping into this game against a team that beat you badly early on in the season. And the one thing I will say about that night, Scott, when you were talking about that Buffalo Bills team being one that you die on the hill for, that team has changed. Joe Brady has changed that team offensively. Sean McDermott has gotten more aggressive defensively. And now you have a quarterback that's playing within the system, but able to go above and beyond when he needs to, not feeling like he always has to. And I think that we could see a team in the Buffalo Bills get into the playoffs that will be extremely scary to play. And I think they win tomorrow.
You know what's wild is that there was no scarier team in football a few months ago than the Miami Dolphins.
Yes.
But you're telling me of these two teams tomorrow, Buffalo's the scarier of
Buffalo's the scarier team because now it's not all incumbent on Josh Allen to do everything. They have a Pro Bowl running back and a team that's playing aggressively around him. He's just not only the physicality factor as it pertains to the Buffalo Bills.
I'm not out here trying to take a victory lap because
Yes, you are. You've been taking that victory lap all day.
A little bit, a little bit. I was wrong that night, but clearly the change to Brady has changed who the philosophy on offense has been different. Allen's been great. Their defense got a little bit healthier.
Had a good look, kind of a pick play for Goody. Shoot, I mean, I think it was just a tough play, man. I think there's about 1 million of those, one play, what ifs in that game. I wish I'd have put a better ball on him, giving us a better chance. Yeah, it's a hard way to go, man.
There was a lot of questions about JT not being in there. I know you're not in personnel, but you worked all week that play with that personnel group.
Man, I thought it was a great call, great, perfect look. I'd throw it to Goody 1 million times over. It was just one of those plays. Maybe, 1,000,001 plays, but yeah.
He's taking it pretty hard there, like he's saying it's his fault. Have you talked to him at all just about, I don't know, just what he's feeling, what he's thinking, what you think about it?
Yeah, dude, I was just loving him up. I'm equally as responsible for that not working as he is. We all had plays that we could have back just because the last one doesn't really, make it that much more significant. And man, I told him, I'd go back with him every time. I'd throw that ball every time. Got a ton of trust and faith in him and the player he is and is going to be. He stepped in a tough role and delivered for us this year. Probably won us a game there. So, man, really appreciate him and the player and the guy he is.
Tough one. Comes down to one play that didn't go their way. That means the Texans are in. DeMeco Ryan are into the playoffs.
Yeah, just during that moment, I was just thankful, really thankful for this, to be in this position, right? Thankful for our guys and the way they fought, like everything that we've been through throughout the entire year, just taking it all in and been through a lot of ups and downs for us to grind through the season and find a way, right, to get an opportunity in the playoffs. It's a special moment, one I always remember. And it was a moment just of gratitude.
Probably nothing surprises you at this point, but the way you know vacation, thoughts on kind of him on this and work.
Yeah, CJ, he doesn't surprise me. Right? We've talked about it earlier in the week with CJ just being special in these big time moments when we needed most to step up and make plays. He's done it time after time throughout the entire year. So I don't think it's not surprising to anyone. That's who he is, right? He's one of the best passers in his league, and he shows it consistently.